welcome to the Momversation Club. I'm Claire Strong.
And I'm Christina Struckmeyer.
We're two mums just like you, navigating the nitty-grittiness of modern-day motherhood and taking you along with us as we talk about the things that nobody else talks about.
And today we're talking about the guilt and shame around admitting that we need support as moms and how societal pressure and identity feed into our need to do it all.
Hi, Christina.
Hey, Claire. How are you?
Yeah, good. Just busy this end. How about you?
Girl, you said it. You said it. It's the time of year, right? I feel like we say that every episode, but I think moms will understand. It's just one busy to another busy over here.
It is. It's one busy season that bleeds into another busy season. That's how it feels anyway. You know,
What's that over there?
Yeah, like the girls are getting ready to, almost finish the end of the school year, so there's all of that. I mean, I haven't even planned summer yet. The whole thing, it's a lot. They've got dancing recitals, dancing exams. I've got a lot going on right now, but I feel like that's the case every week.
It really is. And I am also starting to trudge a little bit into that activities piece because I mentioned, I know I mentioned it to you, but I don't know if I mentioned it to everyone. But my smallest little one, she is 2.5, and she has recently started ballet as well. And not just like the mommy and me, but the kind where there's a recital and also doing t-ball. And so we just started those games up, and then we're practicing for the June recital. Oh my God, Claire, it's going to be so cute. They're doing a Wizard of Oz theme, and the smallest little 3 to 5 year olds, that's her class, into munchkins. And that scene where Glenda's come out wherever you are, and they all come out of the leaves and stuff. That's her. She's gonna come out and she's tippy toeing and so adorable. She's so with it.
God. That is so sweet. Yeah, the little ones are always the cutest in the dancing recitals. They're always the stars of the show.
They're not asking them to be technical. There's very low stakes.
No, there's not very much choreography going on, but it's mainly the costumes and the cuteness, and everyone's when they come out on stage. And then the other thing is, when they're little, it's even funnier actually if they don't do the choreography they've been taught and they just either stand there waving or they do their own thing. It's so cute.
Yeah, but I'm getting a small taste of what it must be like for you to drive around everywhere because I am that woman. I'm now living out of my car, making it more comfortable for myself. I found myself planning for a full day out and putting things in my trunk and keeping all my snacks bars and all that stuff.
Yeah, I know. I definitely very regularly will pack a protein bar for myself because, invariably I'm missing a meal because I'm, shuttling to and forth, or sometimes there's no point in me coming home. So I'll just stay in the car park, in the parking lot, doing some work on my phone or whatever. And so, out comes a protein bar to keep me going.
I know. Well, today's topic kind of does lead into our busyness because today we're talking about, why it's so hard for moms to ask for help and kind of our thing about doing it all. And I know we've touched on this in the past, but I would like to kind of dive a little deeper in this episode because I think it's something a lot of moms relate to.
Yeah, sure. And honestly, this is my worst vice, not asking for help. It's such a weakness of mine. I sometimes, it's to the point where sometimes I don't even consider asking someone else for help because I just think, it's easier for me to do it. I may as well do it. I'm already doing it, so let me just carry on. And, I can take it to the extreme. I think it's that, here's the thing. I was a single parent for many years, and I think that I developed this. It's a bit of a survival instinct, I think. And I just can't shake it off. I really, really struggle asking for help as it relates to the kids. I don't know whether this is something you struggle with, but every day, Christina, it's not just every now and then. Every day I could ask for help and I don't. I just do it all.
Yeah, I think so. I think I also struggle with that too. And as I was doing a little bit of research about this topic and kind of diving deeper and getting a little bit more personal with it, I realized, while I am okay asking for help in certain areas, there's other areas that I do feel kind of like I need to take it all on. And if someone tries to get into that area without authorized permission, I get very defensive and
Yeah.
kind of, really protective over that space. And I'm still searching as to like where that comes from. But I did have a real life example of that recently, and I kind of do want to share
Mm.
that because maybe that's something that might be relatable to others as well. Because maybe you don't
Okay.
really, because I'm okay asking for help if I need a babysitter or if I'm feeling like someone says, "Hey, I'm going to be at the grocery store. Do you need anything?" I'll look in my fridge and be like, "Yeah, actually, I don't have any milk. Like, if you could grab that,
Yeah.
that'd be
Yeah.
awesome." But there are some spaces where I get really like resentful if someone tries to come in. And that happened recently. I was trying to take a nap. And I was not feeling very good the other day. I was feeling kind of run down. I was taking on a lot more than I normally take on because there was a shift in workload between my husband and I, which is normally pretty even. But his
Okay.
work demands a lot of time during certain pockets of the year. And so there'll be times where I'm taking on a bigger share of the load than normal.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that because I know it's coming and I'm kind of ready for it. But sometimes I get a little overwhelmed and I'm really good about being like, "Hey, I need to take space and take a quick minute, or I need to go for a walk, or I need to drive around for a minute and get a cup of coffee and come back and resurge myself." Um,
Hmm.
so my husband had come home for just a pocket of time. And I said, "I'm really overwhelmed and tired. I think I just need like a quick cat nap, like a 25, 30-minute nap. I'll be good to go after that. And I'll just jump right back into the day." And so I went to go take that nap. And then about 10 minutes into that nap, my husband came in and said, "Hey, do not worry about having that 20-minute time. I had my mom come over and she's going to come over and watch Rennie so that you can get rest." And I like had an explosion of rage come up. And
Really?
I think,
I would have thought you'd
yeah.
have thought that was helpful. Why did you not feel it was helpful?
So I'm trying to get to the bottom of it with my therapist, but like I think it's because I have an expectation because I'm a stay-at-home mom
Mm.
that I should be able to handle all the things because I don't go outside of the home to work. And that if someone comes in who maybe doesn't share that same thought process, maybe has a lot of examples of other people who work outside the home and do what I do, that
Yeah.
judge me. And
I
I
would
have fear
say, was it the fear of judgment that maybe caused you to be anxious?
yeah, I felt
Yeah.
this fear of judgment of like, if she were to come into my space and see that I'm taking a nap in the middle of the day, is there going to be an eye roll? Is there going to be a fear of judgment? I'm having a fear of judgment that I'm going to get some unsolicited feelings that I didn't ask for. And I really only needed that 20 minutes that he could have accomplished. On the
Yeah.
other side of that, he was seeing a wife that was very overwhelmed and burnt out and trying to help, but I took it as an attack because it felt like I was going to have like my break analyzed. Like if I took a break, that was like a bad thing for me to have done in front of another mom.
Yeah.
Is that interesting, right? Like I
Interesting. I do see it from your point of view though, because I have a real tendency to be defensive, and it seems to me like that's what you were doing then. You went straight into defensive mode. You were kind of hijacked before you actually were able to think logically about, whether that actually was a potential attack on you and your character and your ability as a mum. But I want to know how that resolved then. Like, what happened in the end? Did your mother-in-law
well,
come over?
we
Did you
called
have your...
off, we called off the mother-in-law and I got up from my nap and I just continued on with the day without that rest, without that asked break that I had wanted. And I got through it, obviously, and like, I was tired and doing it anyways, like most of us do.
Yeah.
But it was hard. And I feel like that sense of like the comparison came into play a lot with that emotion of like that mom is doing this, this, and this, and what I do. how come I need a nap right now? And I feel like a lot of us do that, where it's like, I don't deserve a break, or I don't deserve this because there's other people that are doing this at a much higher caliber and they're not taking breaks. And so we kind of like, because one of us doesn't take a break or maybe isn't showcasing that break, there's this heightened expectation for all of us.
Yeah, it goes back to that comparison. We do it. We all do it. We compare ourselves, especially in the mum space, to other mums, to other women who, I met a woman who I'd not seen for a while. She's a mum. Her youngest went to school with my youngest. And we hadn't seen each other for a while, but I saw her in the supermarket, in the grocery store, literally the other day. And we were having a bit of a catch up, and I was asking her about work. And she said, "Oh, I'm full time now." And I was like, "Oh, okay, wow. So you must be busy." She said, "Oh, yeah." She's like, "I'm really busy." She said, "But, I like the money." So I said, "Oh, would you reduce your hours then if you don't feel you can juggle it all?" She's like, "Oh, no. She's like, "I like the money too much," which I totally respect.
Yeah.
But it's women like that, great for her. That's obviously something that she wants to do and that she may need to do. Some of us have to work full time. It's not an option for us not to do that. But, that's an example of someone who, I could compare myself to. Well, I don't have a job where I'm out of the house 8 to 9 hours a day, 5 days a week. My job is more, sporadic in nature. And so that was an example of a situation that I would have compared myself unfavorably to, but I didn't, which was surprising for me. I was just like, okay, yeah, great for her, and I get it. I'm needing to go out and crush it financially too, but I didn't feel like I was inferior. So that was a little bit of a win for me. But I want to tell, yeah, it was good. But I want to tell you about a story that. This is an example. This is an extreme example of what I'm talking about. So Kyle and I got married nearly 4 years ago. We've been together a long time, but we've only been married for about 4 years. It was our wedding day. Now, it was still in the COVID era, so travel restrictions were in place. So we didn't have a big wedding. We couldn't have any of my family or friends over from England. And so we're fortunate enough to live down the road from a gorgeous beach. So we had the wedding on the beach, but it was a very small affair. It was just Kyle, me, the girls, the dog, the officiator, and literally 5 other people. And that was it, that lived locally, that didn't need to travel in, via plane or whatever. Anyhow, for whatever reason, and looking back now, even if I'm telling this story right now, I just can't believe what I was thinking. So it was my wedding day. I took the girls and I to the hairdressers that morning to get our hair done. Kyle, I think he went, no, okay, so juxtaposition. Kyle got up, went to the gym, and then he, I think, got himself breakfast, went and collected his, well, actually, I'm spoiling the story. He went to the gym while I took the girls to get our hair done. We came home. Kyle was back from the gym and he said, "Okay, so I'm going to go and collect my parents now," because his parents were in town for the wedding. He's like, "So I'm going to take them to the wedding, so I'll see you there." And so I was getting myself ready. I was helping the girls get ready. Everyone, the 3 of us were kind of having a bit of a meltdown. It was not enjoyable. The run up to my wedding was not enjoyable on that day. Not at all. It was very stressful. And I actually drove myself and the girls down to my own wedding. In fact, the hilarious thing was, it was like a film. As I was pulling up to where we were getting married, the guests were already there. So I'm waving to everyone. And I'm like, "I'll be 2 minutes. I just need to find a parking space." And I'm driving down in my wedding dress.
Oh my God.
And I'm letting the girls out so they can go and get situated.
Like, oh my gosh.
And I was like, waiting to get in. "I'll see you in a few minutes. I'm just getting a space." And I thought afterwards, like, what the hell? Like, what I should have done is, and my friend actually offered this, and I don't know why I didn't take her help. I should have let the girls get ready with my friend who was actually attending the wedding that day. So I didn't need to worry about them. And I should have just focused on me. And I shouldn't have driven myself down to my own wedding. I should have at the very least got Uber or something, or had someone take me down there. And instead, I did everything. I arranged all the food. I arranged every last detail for that wedding. I sorted out. And even on the day, I'm like, I've got my room, and Carol's like, I'll see you down there then. I'm going to just go and collect my mum and dad. I'm like, yeah, I'll just drive the girls and I down there. Bye. I was like, my God. But that is an extreme example of how I don't even think sometimes to ask for help. And also, I think boundaries are an issue here as well. Maybe not setting clear boundaries about what is and what isn't acceptable. So yes, that is my wedding day nightmare story.
Well, first off, that's insane. That is an insane story, Claire. And I'm sorry that happened, because I think that you should have had the relaxing day that you deserved with a glass of champagne on your wedding morning. But I think it might go to this thing where it's one, the need for control. Like at the top of the hour, you had said no one else can do it right. Like this is the thing, I'm going to take it on. But also the assumption that I will, of course, do it. Like, of course I will. Like, who else would? Like, I think that in so many situations, you automatically take on the assumption that, of course, it would be me. I mean, even something as simple as like the parent-teacher conference, or like making sure, somebody orders the dance costume. Of course it'll be me. Mm-hmm. Like, there's not even the thought of like, maybe my spouse will do it, or maybe I should ask if I need help, or maybe I look at the calendar and go, how's my day looking that day? And is it appropriate for me to take on this extra thing? We just assume that we'll do it. And usually we will. Usually we figure out a way, because when there's a will, there's a way for moms.
Yeah. You mentioned ordering dance costumes and stuff like that. Really little things that in there, on their own aren't a big deal. But I would not even remotely think that I should delegate that to my husband, which is silly, but there's no way I would think, oh, we need to buy the dance recital tickets, and could you help me with that? Could you order them, please, because I'm doing something else? I would just write it down on my to-do list as something that I have to do. And then he would just turn up on the day with me when I tell him what time it is, with the tickets that I'd already bought. And so I think for me, and I'm sure it's very, very similar for a lot of other mums listening to this, I think we just resign ourselves to, it's just easier for us to do it. Yes, we're gonna get burnt out, and we're gonna complain, but the flip side is it's gonna be more of a pain in the arse, basically, to ask for help than it is for us to just do it and suffer in silence.
So true. But again, back to your wedding, like, you didn't even consider the help. And that's something I'm guilty of. I have a very active, like, involved husband who loves to be a parent, which is really lucky. Like, not a lot of people have that kind of spouse. Yeah. And sometimes I'll be like out loud talking to myself about my day, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta take care of this person there and that person there and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I'm working things out on my calendar, and I talk to myself like a crazy person, because that's who I am. And he's like, hello, I exist. I am here. Like, I'm going to be in town at that time. I could pick up Stella, or I could, like, this morning, it was really foggy, and I was like, oh man, one of my headlights is out. I need to go get that repaired in the fog. And he's like, I also have a vehicle. Like,
that's great. So you did the school on this morning. Yeah, that's great.
He does that a lot, but like, I will not even consider mentioning that I needed the help from him. He just thankfully offers, but how many women are with spouses who aren't just gonna offer it up? And a lot of, there's that whole thing about men being like, I would help you if you just told me what to do. And it's like, we don't even think to tell you.
I think that's the issue. And that's where I think we as women just think, you know what, sod it, basically. It's easier for me to just do it by myself, because the fact that you've got to explain the task that you would like them to do is off-putting enough. You're like, I'm just going to save my breath. So we have to go through all this, so we are our own worst enemy in some respects. But it's definitely a big flaw of mine, not asking for help. I think the other thing is, and this potentially has, helped me make some really bold moves in my life that perhaps I wouldn't have done had I not had this default setting. But I often think that things aren't as big of a deal as they actually are. So, it's okay. I've got it. It's my wedding day, but I can do this. So I'm only going to the hairdressers with the three of us. I'm only helping the three of us get ready. Like, what the hell? As if I can't do that. I'm just driving myself to the venue. It's no big deal. It's only like 2 miles down my street. It's fine. I've got time. And then when you're in the event, you're like, my God, like I'm having an anxiety attack here. This is ridiculous. I put myself under so much pressure.
I think that's so true. And we have to kind of look at, where is that voice coming from? I should be able to handle this. No one else can do this, right? Like all these little thoughts. I mean, that's something that therapy has taught me, is like really identifying where is that voice coming from, because it's not probably your spouse or the other people in your world. It's coming internally and it's from something else. And, a lot of the times for me, it's a comparison thing, but also I think about like how moms have been in the past. And, if so-and-so could have done this, why can't I? I'm just as capable. I'm just, or maybe it's my mom's voice in my head saying, my whole life, my mom was I'm a sacrificer. She's a very big martyr. And she's like, my whole life is about you kids. You're the best thing I've ever done. Like, you guys have to, accomplish so much in order to justify the losses that I have taken in my life.
Yes.
And I'm like, God, I can't waste that. I'm going to be a disappointment. Like, I have to make sure I'm the best mom, the best, wife, the best everything, or else I'm disappointing someone. So for me, my voice is my mom sometimes. Sometimes it's society. I have to go, where is that coming from? So if you haven't done that, if you're like a mom listening right now and you're like, man, this is the ongoing chatter in my brain when I'm not asking for help, where is it coming from? Like, who is that voice? Identify it. And then see if it's even like accurate. Would your mom say that to you right now?
The other part of this, I think, is we need to be good advocates for ourselves. So it's okay we don't need to wait for someone to ask to help. We can advocate for ourselves and say, hey, whether it's your partner, whether it's your mom, whether it's a friend who could help. Hey, on this day next week, for example, I have this appointment, I have this meeting, I can't do pickup that day. Can you help?
Yeah.
And, if it's a friend, so someone that, you don't necessarily expect to, help you all the time in the same way you would a partner, for example, you can trade. Women are really good at this. They have each other's back, and then when you're free, you can help that friend in a different way when they need it. So I think it's funny because I teach my girls to be advocates for themselves, but then I don't always, walk the talk. I'm great at giving advice to them, but then they could very easily look at me and say, well, Mom, why do you think you have to do everything on your own? Because you're telling us that, that doesn't have to be the case, but we see you losing your mind because you've got 1,000 things going on. So I need to walk the talk.
Do as I say, not as I do. Yeah, I think, and also you have to think about what happens if I don't ask for that help. And the reality is when you don't ask for help, you get burnout, which creates a lot of behaviors that may not be there. I'm a less patient person. I'm very angry, resentful, and detached. And there's like things I get, very upset about, things I might not get upset about. And then there's the whole piece of, if you're always doing something for everyone and you don't get any breaks, you don't ask for any help, well, then motherhood becomes your entire identity. And that affects your mental health. If you can't be a person outside of being just a mom, and not just a mom, but like if mom is the only title you take on, that's a lot of pressure on that one title. And the mental health repercussions of that are really high.
Yeah, and often, it's a thankless job. We do get moments of joy, but when you are in the trenches, especially when it pretty much is down to you, no matter what stage your kids are at, there are challenges. Their behavior can be challenging. They don't always appear grateful. You feel like you're just overwhelmed. And so if that is your only identity, then I can see why a lot of women would become depressed and maybe have like a low opinion of themselves, because it's a very thankless job. No one's having like one-on-one reviews with you on a monthly basis saying how well you did at this, and like, okay, so oh, you want to work on that, that's great, well, we'll put this structure in place, and you can go on this great training course, and this is marvelous. And no one's giving you that type of feedback. It's in fact, the feedback you get is generally negative, because I don't really remember my girls ever saying at the end of the day, Mom, you did such a great job today as a mom. I don't think
Well, even if you do get
anyone's ever said that.
I don't know about you, but I'm like, yeah, it's my job. Like, I don't even accept it. Like, someone's like, you're such a good mom, or you did a really good job at that. I'm like, yeah, it's what I'm supposed to do. It's like, you did a really good job breathing today. Like, it's a given. That's what I do. But, I think it's a good point. We need to kind of start working on this. So, like, what now, right? What now that you know that you're supposed to ask for help and you're supposed to accept help, and that's, something we should be working towards as women. How do you get comfortable with that? And I went and searched out some tips and thought about that a lot. And I want to kind of share that with our listeners. The first thing I want to recommend is to reframe what the voice in your head is saying about asking for help, and not put it as a weakness, but so much as kind of looking at the current reality you're in and looking at it as a strength. So a lot of times the voice will say, for me, your mom didn't need the help for this, or like, maybe she did, but she didn't take it. But like, or so-and-so, my friend so-and-so is able to do a killer job at work and comes home and makes dinner every night. And like, it's always healthy and balanced. Well, you're not in the same situation as so-and-so. And also, generations in the past are living in a very different world than we're currently living in. And the expectations on motherhood these days is very freaking different than it even was 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And so you're looking at an example that might not even be accurate. And for other people, you don't know their life story. I mean, I remember looking at this one mom's house and being like, how does she keep such a clean home that looks like nobody lives here all the time with this toddler, and everything's so beautiful, and she works, and she's a PTA president? Like, how does she do all of this? She doesn't. She has a housekeeper that comes every other week and helps her, or every week that helps her. Not that there's anything wrong with that. In fact, I think if you can afford it, freaking do it.
Oh, that's my aim. My life goal is to have a housekeeper on a weekly basis. In fact, a daily basis. I know I have one life if that's the case.
You don't know where they're pulling in, either delegating or outsourcing. You don't know their structure. It's not the same as yours. And so you have to be comfortable with going, well, this is my situation with my stuff. And it's a strength because future me is going to be showing up better if I accept that help.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I found myself in the past comparing myself against women that my husband works with. And I think this is a common thing too, because, they have these amazing high flying, war careers or whatever. And they also have kids and they work full time at their job and they're earning hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. And then there's me. But then, I think to myself, well, like you just said, there's no way that they are doing the practical like mothering during the day because they're working. And so they are in a position where they're able to hire it in, whether that's childcare, housekeeping, whatever. And that's great. And this is not a slight, by the way, to working women. I mean, I'm a working woman too. But the point is, I can't compare myself to them because I'm not in their shoes. And that's what we just need to be aware of. We are not in that other person's shoes, and we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. And I know that, when you are a full-time working mom, and particularly if you're out of the home, it's very stressful. You feel guilty. You're still having to, manage things, but from afar, and do your day job. So none of us have got it easy. We just have different circumstances.
Absolutely. And here's the thing about this whole like stay-at-home mom, working mom, work from the home mom, whatever. All of our goal is the same. We want happy, healthy children, and we want to have like a smidge of our identity still intact.
Yeah.
And so the thing about it is I look at like all of our different motherhoods as like we're all dumping out the puzzle pieces of making the same puzzle. but maybe you start from the edges, I start from the middle, maybe I'm looking at little picture blocks. Like, we're all creating it differently based on what our brains need to do and what our circumstances need to do. And
Yeah.
so don't judge yourself and don't judge other women for the way that they're not, they're not building the puzzle the same as you. As long as, they're not doing something harmful, there's no place for that. I think that we all need to not only not judge them, but not judge ourselves for not doing it the same way they're doing it. We're all doing the same puzzle.
Oh, wise old owl, Christina. You are so, I've said this often because I'm really like, in our relationship, I'm the older sister, but I feel like you're the big sister because you're so wise and emotionally intelligent. I always love listening to you. These actually
Trauma, Claire, but you're welcome.
okay, writing that one down.
Oh God. But yeah, I think we all need to stop and be a little bit kinder to ourselves and just start small. If someone says, hey, I can grab something from the store from you, look in your cabinet and see if you need something from the store. If you're being given an opportunity for a play date and you trust that person and it's a safe place for your kid to go for a little bit so you can go read a book at the park or something, take it. You have to let people be a part of your village if you want a village.
Yeah, because a village doesn't consist of one person, does it?
I mean, not the good ones.
Yeah.
But, and also you're going to get a lot of people that, for me in my space, a lot of that feedback that I was talking about earlier comes from a place of feeling judged. And those judgments come in the form of a lot of unsolicited advice, unsolicited opinions, a lot of things coming towards me. Be okay with like shutting that shit down, because that also creates that lack of asking for help. For me, a lot of, I love that for her. That's so great that she's able to do that. That's not what I'm doing. I do a lot of that with people in my family of, so-and-so did this and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, oh, good for her. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and move on from that conversation, because what they're trying to do is put their idea of my motherhood onto me, and they don't know my life. Like the puzzle situation, like they don't know the puzzle I'm building. I've got it. If I need help, I will ask for it, and I'll get really good about asking for it.
Yeah, I love that. Have you got any other tips that you found when you were researching? Because I need some more.
Well, they all talk about building like a support network, right?
Yeah.
That's the village. But again, if you don't accept help from the village isn't going to exist. But you can kind of start building people around you that you trust and that you can rely on. And those people will show you with their actions if they're trustworthy or reliable. And so for me, that looks like a lot of friends that have become family. My family isn't nearby. And so I've gone out of my way, and this was something I talked about last New Year's, was to make more friends that were like sustainable friendships, people that I was pouring into that I could eventually call family around here. And then also not just receiving the help, but offering help and giving help, even when if it's something you can take on without going crazy. Like, don't be giving when you're already at a 9. But if there's something you can do to like build some network with someone, do it. One of my first ones was I had a friend who needed to go, like she desperately needed a break. And I had a babysitter at the time that came twice a week, and she was wonderful with kids and had been a daycare worker prior. And I said, hey, my babysitter has always offered to have a play date while she's on the clock. Do you want to just drop them off here and go get a pedicure or go do something? I can also feed them. I know to cut the grapes. I promise you we are the same mom. Like, I will not feed your kid anything that they're going to choke on. You're not going to die. Like, they'll be okay. And she took me up on it. And now we have this relationship where we can kind of back and forth be like, hey, can you watch so-and-so for a bit so I can go to the store? And we'll tag each other on that.
I love that. And I'd love to hear from our listeners about how you navigate this. because, I think it's something that we all struggle with. As mums, we're so hard on ourselves, and we just, rightly or wrongly think that we can do everything by ourselves, and it doesn't need to be that way. So, how do you ask for help? Do you feel comfortable asking for help? Are you a bit like me, where you just think, your default setting is I'll do everything on my own? But yeah, we'd love to hear from you. And that brings us to the end of another episode of the Momversation Club.
And if you've enjoyed today's show, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a review.
We really hope that today's episode has helped you to feel more seen and less alone in motherhood. Until next time, bye for now.